That's definitely a more rounded top-line canter.
This week, field testing a new kind of flexible saddle tree.
You can get in the rhythm of your horse's hips so the two of you can move in harmony.
I can feel it. All of my horses can feel it.
That shoulder has full range of movement.
So get comfortable, kick your boots off, and join me. This is The Horse Show, and I'm Rick Lamb. As a horse grows and develops, his back changes shape from month to month. As a horse moves, his back changes shape from moment to moment. And that, in a nutshell, is the big challenge in saddle design. For more than 20 years, saddle maker Letitia Glenn has been on a quest to meet that challenge, working closely with the Pirelli organization. I caught up with her at a Dave Ellis riding clinic at Horse Spirit Ranch in Southern California. Letitia, I've seen a lot of saddle trees. I've never seen one quite like this.
The original trees from days of old were wood covered with rawhide, and then wood covered with fiberglass, like these two segments of this tree were very popular. And we still make some of those in certain saddles. For instance, if a heavy-duty roper is going to be roping big animals and dragging them to the fire all day, he doesn't need flex of any sort.
Oh, this
in
flexes.
Here. This flexes. This compound itself was quite the investment.
What was so hard about making that?
It has to be injection molded. It has to hold properties that don't deteriorate. It can't be too flexible so that when the horse's body heat warms it, it caves in the center. You need the weight distribution factor. It has to be just flexible enough that you can feel your horse's movement and your horse can enjoy the relief. And it can't be too stiff so that the screws pull out as it flexes.
What does it mean to the horse to have a flexible tree?
Well, can you imagine if you were an expanding series of dynamic shapes, bulging, flexing, straightening, shortening, snaking spine? Can you imagine what it would feel like if the saddle moved with you at least just a little bit? You notice how thin this is. That gets you very close to your horse so the two of you can move in harmony. And then what you feel as a rider, you can get in the rhythm of your horse's hips. You really can feel it.
Now, what does it look like when you're all done?
Well, it's layers and layers, depending upon the style of the saddle, whatever you choose on top. The shape of your cantle. The cantle is cut at an angle that we have learned is the important angle for a cantle to be cut, to hold these flexible bars at the correct attitude and angle for your horse's moving back, so that it will not change shape too much as the horse moves.
I've heard of other flexible trees. How is this one different?
This tree is shaped the way horses told us over many evolutionary steps.
They told you.
Prototypes. They told us in subtle ways, their facial expression, their body carriage, all sorts of ways of going. We had a vast pool of guinea pigs who would help us with these tests. We will not make a tree any narrower than approximately 10 degrees wider than full quarter horse bars.
Oh.
And that
sounds big.
That sounds big. Our super wide is more like 20 degrees wider than full quarter horse bars. Now that's not just a matter of simply flaring them or setting them apart wider. This is the bar region. There are a lot of subtle angles and attitudes that we learned help the horse function better mechanically.
It seems like he'd be kind of flopping all around.
I know, it does.
Too loose or something, but that's not the case.
You're absolutely right. The interface, managing that space between the saddle and the horse is important. If we're going to build something that is large enough for the horse's dynamic, bulging body, we have to make sure that it doesn't fit him snugly when he's standing still.
It might seem loose just standing there, but when he starts moving, it fills it out.
He fills it out, and if the interface is designed just properly with the right consistency of materials, and we always believe in tucking one shim at least behind the scapula's maximum backswing point, or right sort of at it, and that relieves pressure off the working shoulder.
That shim goes in the pad.
That goes inside the pad.
Is this going to be a
This
cutting
is going to
saddle?
be a cutter.
What other models can you make?
We currently make 19 standard models, and they're everything from basic trail saddles. Our performer has buck rolls here. Then we make saddles without buck rolls for trail and general purpose riding, and then we have specialized sport tools for cutting, reining, ranch versatility.
Why did you go to all this trouble?
We went to all of this trouble because years ago we heard the concepts that if horses and riders each had habits and skills that enabled them to communicate well and partner together effectively, both sides would be happy and have a good time. The people who taught us those concepts were Pat and Linda Parelli. It was 2001 when Linda Parelli said, "We have got to do something about saddles." Saddles seem to be torture devices that inhibit the rider's natural movement and inhibit the horse's natural movement. It destroys the partnership.
Sure.
And something switched inside of me personally, and my husband, Art, went along with me at least, and that just became such a thought. I couldn't let go of it. We thought we could find them. We'd go out and look for saddles, and we would bring them to the Parelli audience because it's a very voluminous audience with every breed of horse represented, every rider and level of ability and sports field of interest. And everyone was really willing to put up their hands and help us test.
But you couldn't find that magic saddle
Could
out
not
there.
find it. Well, coincidentally, when we kept not finding it and kept talking to saddle tree makers, their consistent methodology included measuring the horse's back when it was at rest, which is to say when it is down. If you fit that, there's no place for that body to go when it takes its first step.
Sure.
So we began building prototypes, and over 2.5 years, 8 prototypes, working with 8 saddle trees and different saddle makers, we finally got one where we threw it on a barrel, and actually Linda Parelli sat it and said, we knew we were there for the horse. Yes, I think this puts the rider in a balanced position in a way that you could move in harmony. And she felt really excited and comfortable about that, and she was doing a gigantic demonstration in front of 2,500 people, a behavioral makeover of a horse that the owner said, "This horse is just impossible, particularly when I go to ride him." And she said, "I think the problem is saddle related." And she announced to the crowd that we had this prototype and she was just going to see.
Wow, gutsy move.
Was it a gutsy move? And she said, "I don't know, but I just have a sense." And she put that saddle on that horse, and the behavioral change was instantaneous.
So what are we going to do today? We're going to do a little before and after, or what?
Well, as I mentioned to you, it's kind of rolling the dice.
You've never talked to these people before.
I've never seen these people before. But we are so confident that the horse will show you, and it may be very subtle. I hope it's not too subtle. Yeah. Often people end up absolutely in tears because it feels so dramatic as a rider who loves his or her horse.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you for being interested. Yeah. You can help change the world.
Saddle maker Letitia Glenn believes that her flexible tree, roomier fit, and adjustable saddle pad comprise a system that solves most issues related to saddle fit. Even traditionalists like veteran Parelli instructor Dave Ellis have come to agree with her. That tree that can flex a little bit.
Yes.
How does that work for you?
Works great for me. First of all, I can feel it. All of my horses can feel it. Every time I pull the saddle off, I have an even sweat pattern. It just plain works, Rick.
What is the look that you've got here? What would you call it?
To me, this is an early California look, with the exception that the Wade front end is just unbeatable.
The post horn.
That's right, the post horn and this low cantle, way stronger than the old California ones that set up a little bit higher. So I like this, and I like square skirts. And they were able to build it in really nicely with this, with the in-skirt rigging, where it just falls in and works just great. So I went ahead and said, let's give it a try. Close. Oh, it's close, so I don't have any bulk on my legs. So I can do a little bit of real horsemanship, while we're playing with the cows. And I got my first horse and saddle when I was 10, and I'm 70 right now. And this is undoubtedly the best saddle I've ever had. And it works on all the horses.
Pretty strong endorsement from a professional horseman. But what would riding students think? A good old-fashioned field test was in order. Hi, Stacy.
Hi.
Are you having any problems that you know of related to your saddle?
Absolutely. When we got him, he was a real kind of a pill. We're working with the saddle, and I noticed that it's pinching him, and I can't feel him anymore.
He looks stiff to me. His hind leg is not reaching up to where his front leg just took off, which means he cannot get his hindquarters underneath him and use all those very powerful angles. He's carrying her, but he's sort of pushing from behind. there. Did you notice as he went into the canter, he had to throw his head up, which means he's anticipating a pinch behind the wither.
The saddle is so limiting, he can't even move his shoulders.
She's saying he wants to try for me. I can feel he can't move his shoulders. All right, Stacy, thank you very much. I think I know what I'm going to see underneath that saddle.
What are you going to see?
I think I may see that the longissimus dorsi muscles along the spine are going to be rather flat, because those muscles are not allowed to round up if he can't get his hindquarters deep underneath him. And of course, the area of the trapezius muscle right behind the scapula will also be probably quite flat.
You're looking for it to be more rounded?
More rounded, more full use of the muscle is only possible if he can get his hindquarters deep underneath him in stride. The only way he can develop these longissimus dorsi muscles to be more round would be if he can lift his abdominal muscles and have them strong and pushing up into more room under there. And the same with the trapezius.
So is the gullet too narrow, do you think, on her saddle? Is that part of the problem?
Probably too narrow, but it's not only the narrowness. You can set 2x4s at different dimensions apart. It's the angle and attitude of those bars that we learned needed to be more hugging of the moving horse, not fitting of the stationary horse.
Everything changes when they start moving. Can you still accomplish what you want to do with a rigid tree, or does it have to have some kind of flexibility to it?
Yeah, we have found that the flexibility adds a delicious component, but yes, you can.
That's a good thing.
Yes, that's a good thing. The shape is the most important. The flexible feature just adds an element of real dynamic connection for the two of you. Can you feel that flexible tree underneath him as he moves?
Yes, and it feels great on my back, too.
That's beautiful. Yep. And that would get better and better.
Oh, my God.
Jane, you're here today because
I would like to find a much more comfortable saddle for myself as well as for the horse. She's got shoulder blades that come back pretty far, and it's always been difficult to find a saddle that works for her.
I can see that saddle does seem to force Jane to have a hollow posture in her back, and though many of us, that's nice to see the horse be able to carry a low head, though, and walk along. At the walk, he is tracking up. His hind foot is just about where his front foot is taking off. And we'll see as he goes, that was good. He left off without raising his head, so he's not in terrible stabbing pain. Jane has her saddle set back, which is good. Many people tend to saddle a little bit too far forward and restrict that shoulder movement all the more. But I do see that she is bouncing uncomfortably. That looks like she is sitting more on her pubic bone than on the back of her seat bones, though she's fluid in her lower back. She said she has lower back problems. Oh, that's looking good. He's stretching his head.
So this may actually be more of a problem with her comfort than the horse's comfort.
It may be. Here's where his head got a little stiff and came up. And again, you see those hind quarters are out behind a bit. All right, Jane, thank you very much. Yeah.
There go the ears.
Yeah, so here she's saying, oh, here it goes again.
That was learned behavior, right? I mean, she was anticipating something that didn't actually happen.
Oh, man, I thought, Jane, we were friends.
And this seat is way comfortable for me.
Seat is comfortable. Since you've been trapped into a hollow back posture and that, look at her. That is definitely letting some adrenaline release with the shake of that head. She did not lift her head at all, but I don't recall that she lifted it dramatically before. All right, that's definitely a more rounded top-line canter than what we saw.
Hi, I'm Victoria, and this is Pearl. She's real picky about her back, very wide. She doesn't want to move out. A lot of the shaking ahead, a lot of the tail swishing, and I want to see if maybe I can help her out and be more comfortable.
Pearl is not particularly comfy. That could be mare attitude, but let's see.
Got some swishing going on there with the tail.
Yeah, swishing with the tail. She is not tracking up. You can see her hind leg is not able to
short
reach.
Steps.
Yeah. Hind legs are pushing from behind. Are you comfortable tipping her up into a canter, Victoria?
Certainly.
So this is a 14-year relationship they've had, so there's something going on. Not horrible, but her head did nod up as she went, and she's basically
shaking a
pretty
little bit.
stiff. And can you see that the under neck muscles are kind of more bulgy? And the expression on her face, we haven't talked about that yet, but that's a very important thing.
Yeah? What do
Does
you
that
look for?
Well, squinty eyes, tension in the face, tension in the neck. Yeah.
Some head throwing.
Not entirely happy. Let's see how much of this might be saddle related. That's it, Victoria. Thanks so much.
Pretty evident of how naughty she can get in the saddle.
I might feel the same if I weren't comfortable with what I
You'd
was
get a little
packing on
grumpy,
my
too.
back. A really lovely, powerful, naturally broad mare. She will be much more broad when she has the opportunity to develop these muscles again. It's terribly important to your horse to create room for the back to move, and you do that two ways: with the saddle that is built for the moving horse, which means it's a little big, and if you tuck one shim behind the scapula's maximum backswing point.
You're creating more room in there for her shoulder to work.
That's right.
What I like about what you've done here is it's all kind of research-based, it's empirical, it's evidence-based. It's not just guessing, it's not just what looks good or you think will sell, that you have reasons for all these design features. So, I mean, I like what I'm seeing, and especially in that respect.
Thank you very much.
Feels like she's got a lot more room. I think she's just trying to figure out the difference in there.
She seems more calm there. Her stride looks a bit more rhythmic to me, and it would get quite a bit more so. Did she offer that canter?
Yes, she did, and it's so nice. With her blowing out, she's light on the reins and lifting her back. I was really impressed with that. Thank you so much, Leticia.
Thank you, Victoria. We love it every time.
Thank you.
And you look into those big brown round eyes instead of the squinty tense ones,
Yeah.
and that does it for me.